Hi, welcome back to Jonesy Chats Wrestling. Once again, we're back this week to discuss this past week's Smackdown. I'm George Jones, your host, and I'm joined by my regular co-host of Smackdown, none other from the channel SCW, Steve. How are you this morning, Steve?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the channel once again. We're back on channeling my inner Montez Ford this week. We want the juice is from me. But yeah, no, it's good to be back on. It's great to talk Smackdown and looking forward to another fun show ahead.
Definitely. So what we've got on today's show, we've got the Smackdown review, as always. We're going to discuss some Rhea Ripley, where's she going, where do you think she's going? And we've got quite a big story regarding the NXT title at WrestleMania. So it's going to be a fun show. Thank you for tuning in and watching the video anyway. So let's get to this then. So let's start, as always, with a fun fact for today in history. So today in history, 7th of February, and we're going to go all the way back to 2000 this time, actually. We're going all the way back to 2000, and we've got Sid Vicious defeated Scott Hall to retain the WWE World Heavyweight title on Nitro from Oklahoma. What's your thoughts before I give you mine?
I must admit, I've never seen this match actually. So yeah, it's fun to know. Perhaps one to go back on the network. My memories of Sid around that time probably is a year later. Unfortunately, is that horrendous leg break. But yeah, I mean, Sid was a big champion towards the end of the WCW days, wasn't he? And of course, had a great stint in WWE beforehand, had been a world champion. So yeah, some good memories from it. Definitely a match that perhaps I should go back and watch.
Definitely. I think I'm more shocked the fact that Scott Hall's still there in 2000. I thought he'd left by that point a lot earlier, so that was a shock. But it's funny to see Sid sort of go and get that world title after his previous run in ECW and WF, where obviously with Sid Justice and stuff. But yeah, fun fact. I think that's one match we've both got to watch, and maybe we can talk about it better next time.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're now going to go into this Smackdown review. Obviously, this was going from yesterday's show, Friday Night Smackdown. It's Sunday here in the UK for anyone's watching. So let's get into this, as always, from the Tropicana Field in Tampa Bay, Florida. Obviously, so the show starts up with a memory of the natural Butch Reed. All condolences to his friends and family. And it was kind of sad to see him sort of another legend go this year. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, of course, Butch Reed's had many legendary moments in the business. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he was the first person ever eliminated from a Royal Rumble match, which, of course, is Royal Rumble time of the year. Of course, he has been involved in many matches, including matches at WrestleMania. Of course, WCW days, it was a part of the tag team of Ron Simmons as well. So, yeah, so many legendary moments, and sad to see him go. Thoughts with his family at this difficult time.
100%. So we're going to go into this kind of Smackdown show then. So obviously the show starts. We've got Roman Reigns coming out for a promo. Roman's got a new T-shirt, head of the table shirt. It's the first I've seen that shirt. This time he's joined by his cousin Jey Uso, along with the special counsel Paul Heyman. Reigns said he's not a fan of recapping the past. Reigns said if he didn't see the Rumble, he beat Kevin Owens like he said he would. Reigns said enough about the past, let's talk about the future. Reigns basically said that he's going to call out Edge. And what it was is obviously Reigns basically cutting a promo on Edge. Reigns basically said that he feels that it's going to be an easy win for him. Reigns said to Heyman, get him out here, get Edge out here. Reigns said he's no longer interested in Kevin Owens because he's already took care of that business. And Reigns basically said that at the end of the night, he's basically going to have like kind of the last laugh. Reigns then left. What were your thoughts of the opening promo?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, again, it's a similar pattern to what we get most weeks on SmackDown, with Roman Reigns kicking off the show in the middle of the ring of a promo. Sometimes you could argue it's a bit samey, but what I loved was the way that Roman Reigns was in this promo. And obviously, he's got a different style to a lot of people on the microphone. I mean, Roman Reigns is he's quite slow with his delivery. He's quite calm with a lot of his wording. He's very confident with his wording as well. Usually with a lot of promos, you see a lot of people shouting, trying to get their point over as just get people to listen, where Roman, it's really everything you're engaged to pull yourself in and listen to the words of Roman Reigns. And I find myself captivated each and every week. And like you said, with the idea there that he wants to move on from Kevin Owens, that's done. I think for a lot of fans, that was a relief at that point, knowing that we would be moving on. The idea of Edge versus Roman Reigns, it does feel like a big WrestleMania match. I must admit that it's the choice I want Edge to make. I think that there is a gap on SmackDown for a top babyface, and I think Edge fills that void perfectly. I think that would be a great spear versus spear and a great, comeback story that can be told with Edge and done in a story Roman right now, everything he touches turns to gold. Everything Roman has done has been amazing over the last few months with the help of Paul Heyman, with Jey Uso as well. I think it all just goes hand in hand together. So I really enjoyed this, particularly as I know you're going to move on to a point in a second. What I really liked about this especially is not just the fact that Roman Reigns, like we said, was so calm, but the fact that when he felt insulted by Edge, the fact that he wasn't in the arena at that point, the fact you got that snap and then he went up that level to the fact that he was sort of, shouting in the microphone, how dare you disrespect me? It just, all of a sudden, you've been pulled in to listen. And all of a sudden, you go back because of the fact that he's then turned up the volume, which has made you want to go back. Very captivating, gripping start to the show. I thought that this was actually one of the strongest starts of Roman Reigns to a show on SmackDown for literally since he's come back. And he's done many great promos to kick off shows.
I agree. I think you make some excellent points. What I would say about it is Roman's got that similar appeal to The Rock for me. He's got that charisma. You can see that he's got the crowd in the palm of his hands, even through the screens. And when you look at it, I think he's just such a good champion. I think this feud with Edge is really, really clever. Roman's yet to face like a legend so far in his run as champion. So I think it makes sense. And I think Roman, you can hear the boos they pipe him, but I think if we had a real crowd there, it would be interesting to see the reaction, whether people would cheer him or boo him. But if we look where he's come from, like a year ago, or sort of maybe the gimmick before, I think this new gimmick for him and the way it's working, it's so much better. Because if you said to me kind of back in December 2019 when he's losing to Baron Corbin, this guy's going to become the most over Finn in 2021 and 2020, I would have thought you're crazy. But credit to WWE, the heel turn, the work of Paul Heyman, it gets better and better every single week. Anything else you want to add about this segment?
No, not necessarily. No, I completely agree with your points. I love the idea of how Roman has become the most unpopular guy in the wrestling business, becoming arguably the most popular. So many people are a fan of his work right now. And credit to Roman Reigns, credit to Paul Heyman, and credit to WWE.
Yeah, credit.
It's what we've wanted for years.
Yeah, credit to WWE. All they've got to do now, I'd say for the rest of the year, is try and get some babyface equivalent of the level of Reigns, somebody that can be his counter, is juxtaposed, so to speak. So I think they'll do that. I think they will. But yeah, great opening promo, and this is what SmackDown should be. This is your champion. The only small thing I'd say, really, Reigns didn't really sell the injuries from the night before, which are not the night before, sort of before the Royal Rumble. If I would say, didn't really sell any of the injuries, but that really didn't really matter when you look at the promo. Anything else you want to add, or do you want to move forward?
No, I'm happy to move forward, my friend. But yeah, I kind of agree. It would have been fun if we'd solved the injuries, but no, it is what it is. And like we say, we're not looking backwards, I guess. We're moving forwards.
Yeah, we are. So let's go to the next sort of match or next moment. It's first match of the night. This was obviously a rematch. We've got Dominic Mysterio versus King Corbin. This one was okay. It kind of did what it needed to do. Dominic Mysterio getting his windfall. For me, my thoughts of this were, I'm a bit bored of this feud. I'm not really a kind of a massive fan of it. When I kind of look at it, I think it's one of them things kind of when we look at Dominic Mysterio, he's not kind of won a match since September 7th. And to getting this win here, it's okay. But this is kind of doing nothing now. We've had this sort of feud of King Corbin, Dominic Mysterio, King Corbin, the Mysterio family going on since January. For me, it's one of the things that I don't like on SmackDown. Have you got any thoughts on the match and kind of Dominic Mysterio getting that first win since September?
I must admit, I wasn't such a fan of this either. And I think the problem with me is I think the storyline's all in the wrong order. I think that's really my issue with it. I have no problem that Dominic Mysterio's got his victory. But I find a little bit, the problem is that I've been watching Rey Mysterio since 1996, and this is the most heelish I've ever seen him. Things aren't really connecting together for me on this. It's sort of, I look at it, I enjoyed the fact that Corbin attacked them before the match, but it was retribution from the week before. It's like Corbin's the babyface. It doesn't add up. This should have happened last week, and Corbin still picked up the victory. And then what would have happened last week with then Dominic trying to get the revenge by attacking Corbin before the match last week had happened this week would have made a lot more sense. And then if we'd have seen the fact that Rey Mysterio, because he was dragged involved in this, then helped Dominic to win the match, it would have made much more sense. So for me, this is a bit messy. I understand that the storyline direction is that they're probably trying to say with Dominic, he's trying to find himself. He's still young. He's still a rookie. He's not channeled and found who he is. But the thing is that they try and do these things and say that, oh, he's bringing out the Latino heat side of him. He's got that Eddie Guerrero side. It's like, it's not how Eddie Guerrero performed. Eddie Guerrero was once in the lifetime with the way that started things. I mean, if you look at NXT this week, Leon Ruff did what Eddie Guerrero would do. This isn't what Eddie Guerrero would do when you're seeing people cheating from the outside and seeing blatant heel tactics like this. So for me personally, I do think the storyline's a bit of a mess. I look forward to moving forward, and I hope now we will move forward now that Dominic Mysterio has picked up that victory. I thought that was the one saving grace from this.
Yeah, I think you make some good points. I think the thing with it is you look at Razor Ramon and 1-2-3 Kid back on Monday Night Raw in '93. 1-2-3 Kid gets the fluke win. They don't keep doing the rematch again and again, week after week after week. It's one of the things where SmackDown have got so many talented wrestlers. They can spend far more time pushing other wrestlers. And I think for me, I'm done with this. The thing is, this match is never going to make it onto the pay-per-view, I don't think. So where do they go next? Particularly since they've got rid of Baron Corbin, one of Baron Corbin's running mates. Obviously, unfortunately, got fired this week. I think it's just a needless segment, really. Have you got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, it was a shame to hear about Steve Cutler being released from WWE. Him and his partner,
Wesley Blake.
Steve, and unfortunately contracted COVID during that. There is there's a lot of rumours going around speculating that is a contribution towards that dismissal. But Steve Cutler is a talented guy. I do see a bright future for him. Maybe he might join Impact Wrestling, would be what perhaps the next direction. But it's a shame from as we look from a SmackDown perspective, because he just found himself back onto TV. He was unfairly probably taken off of TV with what happened with the Forgotten Sons and with Jackson Riker. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame to see what's happened with that.
Yeah, it's a shame, definitely. Sorry, Steve.
Wonder, no, it's fine. Sorry about it. I was just going to say, I wonder what the direction will be for Wesley Blake. If he'll remain as someone with King Corbin, or if maybe he'll go into a different direction himself, because rumours have suggested this week that Buddy Murphy, who ironically has been with Rey Mysterio recently, and of course with Aaliyah, WWE have nothing creative for him, which is why he's not on TV at the moment, which is fascinating to me, as he was one of the most over people. I wonder if they could reform the old tag team from NXT of Blake and Murphy, because there is a hole in that SmackDown tag team division. Maybe that would be a good use of those two people. I wondered your thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good idea. I think clearly you have to give somebody sort of to make it a bit different. I think the thing is, obviously, Baron Corbin's now outnumbered. So the thoughts of him kind of being against two all the time, it's just a bit stale. But that would make sense with Buddy Murphy. Yeah, that's another great talent that's not on the show, as you said. It's a shame. And it's the same with, you could say, with Aleister Black. Aleister Black's another fantastic worker. Under Paul Heyman on Monday Night Raw, he was superb. He was going right up the card. Now he's not been seen on TV for months, ever since his partner left the company. They've got a lot of situations like this on WWE where I think it's a shame for us as fans.
I agree, 100% agree. There's so much talent that's been wasted. It's unfortunate. Okay,
so let's move forward then. So we then obviously had Big E being interviewed by Kayla Braxton. Big E said that he's here to fight. He said that when he signed up tonight, and when he won the Intercontinental title, he's basically going to fight. It was basically a promo to hype up the match later on tonight, which was the triple threat. What were your thoughts of the Big E promo?
Yeah, it was okay. It did what it needed to do. I think it was improvement on a couple of previous ones they've done with Big E of late. This was back more to the standards that I was expecting to see, but nothing to really scream about. But like you said, it hyped up the triple threat match for later in the evening, and certainly was the match on the card that was as going in, not knowing what the next match before SmackDown. It was one I was very much looking forward to.
Definitely. We then had this fantastic match between Daniel Bryan and Cesaro. This was a really, really good match. It was really, really full of near falls and stuff. I thought it was close. You never knew who was going to win. Cesaro got a nasty headshot by the end of it. Was covered in blood. Cesaro gets the windfall by submission. But when we look at this, Cesaro, this guy is on a roll. I didn't really believe it until I looked into it. Cesaro has not lost a singles match since May last year. So this guy's on a big push, really up there with Bobby Lashley, with the pushes and stuff like that. And clearly, obviously, getting another win over Daniel Bryan. A big win. Obviously, he got the win back in January 15th against Daniel Bryan as well. This run is good. This match is great. And I was really happy to see the push of Cesaro. I think the fact he's got this new contract signed, this was a great demonstration, really, to lead him into sort of carrying on, really, and moving forward. What were your thoughts on the match and this win streak?
Absolutely brilliant match. Really enjoyed this. The in-ring work really in SmackDown this week in general. You're going to hear quite a lot of high praise from me, apart from that opener. Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, I could watch it every week. I know that we say sometimes we get bored of seeing rematches. This isn't one of them. I'm really pleased to see it. Like you say, Cesaro, he signed that new contract. Daniel Bryan has put him over big time, which is great to see. It's the second time he's beat Daniel Bryan in a number of weeks. This is the most over we've seen Cesaro in years as a singles competitor. Like you say, he's on a winning streak. He was supposed to be in Shinsuke Nakamura's actual position in the gauntlet. Now we've learned since as well. So they've really got plans for Cesaro. So it looks like a babyface turn as well. a sharpshooter submission victory. This is bright times for Cesaro. For Daniel Bryan, I do question another loss, but what I would say is I do wonder if this is going to play into storyline, because Daniel Bryan's been losing a lot recently, and I wonder if that's to do with the alpha training, or if we're going to get to a bigger storyline. There are a lot of rumors that his full-time schedule is going to come to an end. He will be becoming a part-timer in the near future. So I do wonder if this is going to play into his WrestleMania storyline, or perhaps some sort of losing streak, maybe.
You never know. Obviously, ever since he's gone onto the creative team, he seems to definitely be doing a lot more jobs. And the fact he's willing to give his losses here, even though he's losing most weeks, it's not really affecting him in any kind of way because he's that good in the ring. For me, I wonder where this is, as you said, I wonder where it's kind of leading. I think what I'd like to see out of this, I would love to see Cesaro sort of get that in kind of title match at WrestleMania. I think that's kind of the route we're maybe going down. And it's just really, really good. They've got a real good chance to put Cesaro over. And when they get to TLC later this year, this is somebody that I could see challenging for the world title probably by the end of the year. Anything else you want to add?
I think that would be a great shout, and I think it's something I want to see. Cesaro has had a great start for 2020 momentum. Like you say, Daniel Bryan in there with a pencil. He's someone that must be a big advocate of Cesaro to put him over so much. I definitely could see it. I love your call about the Intercontinental Championship. The idea of Cesaro versus Big E in a one-on-one match as well seems very exciting. So this is something I would very much like to see. I wouldn't even be surprised if Cesaro ended up in the Elimination Chamber. That's how well he's being pushed right now.
I've got a quick question for you, Steve. You'll probably definitely be able to clarify this. So with the Elimination Chamber this year then, obviously if Cesaro's in it, if he does win it, could he then choose to challenge Drew, or would it have to be Roman, would you say?
I mean, the thing is, I think this comes down to Edge at this point, because obviously no spoilers at this point, but Edge, if he decides to go for Roman Reigns, for example, then we wouldn't necessarily need to determine a number one contender. It would be the case of, would Roman still be the champion? So there is a chance that Roman could be defending that championship in the chamber. Not that he would be anywhere keen on doing so, but with the relationship he's currently got with Adam Pearce, I wouldn't be surprised if Pearce put him in a more difficult situation going into that. As well, I mean, you look, there could be a situation on the Raw side, like you said there. Maybe we have a number one contender set for Raw. Maybe Drew even defends the championship in the chamber. There's lots of different directions we could go. One thing I would say for sure is we'll get one chamber match for the men and one for the women. It all depends on how WWE wants to decide to use the pencil.
Definitely. I think it's interesting. It's just a shame that Cesaro isn't on Raw already with this pushes on and stuff, because they clearly need somebody to oppose Drew. But that's another subject. Let's move forward. So we've got Bianca Belair. She was interviewed on the interview set by Kayla Braxton. There was a video shown of Bianca's parents watching the Rumble and them get excited. And they asked if Bianca's basically going to reveal tonight who she's going to challenge. Belair said that she talked about how WrestleMania is a tough decision. Belair said she'll put the EST in WrestleMania her way, which means she'll make a decision soon. What were your thoughts of the promo in the backstage segment?
As I said last time, there's already an ES&T in WrestleMania. I don't know if she's noticed that. But so being honest, though, I did find that this promo, for me, it didn't really make full sense in a way, because she said that a lot of people for it and that, not to rush the decision. And then she sort of just said, well, I'm not that kind of person. I'll make my own choices, but I'll tell you soon. It was a bit like, okay, but that means you're doing what other people told you. But then she ended up in the ring later on in the evening. So I suppose it's kind of a follow-on, more of a wait-and-see kind of case. But it's certainly meant to lead you to intrigue with the idea of which champion is she going to choose. The fact she didn't show up on Raw last week really gives that strong indication that she will be sticking on SmackDown, that she will be challenging Sasha Banks.
Yeah, I agree. I think the film with it was very much a feel-good promo. I get the fact that the emotion of family. Once again, you're getting the family ties there, which is important. And I really like it. I really like, they're clearly making Bella one of the most important things on SmackDown. So it was good. This obviously teased the segment for later in the show, which is trying to keep people watching on the product, which is good. Have you got anything else you want to add before we go forward?
Oh, I didn't really mention the parents.
If you want to mention the parents, go for it now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the sofa breaking really made me laugh. So
comedy.
Like you say, it's a great use. It's a great use of family. It gets you connected to the character. Family is a big thing that a lot of people can relate to. They are really trying to put her over as one of the biggest baby faces going. And I think WWE, on that side of things, they're doing a really good job with Bianca Belair. I know I questioned the promo last week on SmackDown with her because of the fact that it seemed shocked that she beat Bayley. But when you look at things all connected together, it's all just to say she's a babyface, she's going to be pushed as a top star, and they're doing a good job of it. Overall, they are putting over what they want to. She is a top babyface. She is now someone that's a serious credit to that division. She is a top challenger and will be the challenger at WrestleMania. So when you look at it, Bianca Belair, she is on a roll. And it was looking forward to seeing if she would go for Sasha Banks later in the show.
Yeah, agreed. We then obviously had a vignette about Seth Rollins, talking about the greater good. It's just highlighting that it's going to be back next week. For me, obviously, he had such an impressive showing in the Royal Rumble, making it towards the end as such, which was a great return. Interesting, he's coming back with the same gimmick as before. There was an opportunity for him to be a babyface and be repackaged, which they've not done. What are your thoughts of him kind of coming back next week? Are you excited by that?
I am excited about it, and clearly WWE are as well, because they showed this package twice in the show. But I mean, looking at it, Messiah, he is one of the top stars on SmackDown. We haven't seen him for a little while. It's going to be great to see where he's going to fit in coming back. Of course, the last time we saw him before himself at Survivor Series, I'd like to know if there would be some explanation. As for the Royal Rumble, he was a heavy favourite in the dying hours. From a lot of bets have been put on Rollins in Vegas. Of course, that didn't turn out to be a victor, but I think it's going to be a big program for him coming back. And I wouldn't be surprised if the WrestleMania match was Seth Rollins against Daniel Bryan. I could see them definitely playing with the two storylines. If Daniel Bryan's losing every week, perhaps Seth Rollins might see him as someone that can be sacrificed to get himself for the greater good back in the championship picture. So for me, I wouldn't be surprised if that was what's to go down, because as well, let's not forget Seth Rollins did eliminate Daniel Bryan from the Royal Rumble match also.
You make some excellent points. I think that'd be a WrestleMania dream match. I'd definitely like to see that. I think you definitely, if you're going to have Seth back now and you want him to be a heel, with Roman being the main heel, I think Seth then needs to maybe kind of go towards the middle of the card title, maybe, which is potential. Have you got anything else you want to add before we go to the next match?
No, I'm happy to move on, my friend.
Okay, so we had Bayley versus Ruby Riott. Obviously, Billie Kay was on commentary with her headshots again, which is entertaining as always. This was a really quick match. Bayley getting the windfall. I was kind of happy Bayley won. This is Bayley's first win this year as a singles wrestler. So really, really good to see her get the windfall. Interested to see how she fits in with WrestleMania and where that's kind of going. But this was much needed because Bayley really has kind of been doing a lot of kind of losing, particularly in the feud with Bianca Belair previously. Have you got any thoughts about the match and this rare win for Bayley?
It was a must-win for Bayley. I really enjoyed this segment. Billie Kay is becoming, outside of what happens with Roman Reigns, is the thing I most look forward to on SmackDown, and that's a testament to how good of a character Billie Kay was. Yeah. If Billie Kay, and I don't mean this nasty when I say it, if Billie Kay was as good in ring as even Peyton Royce was, Billie Kay would be challenging for championships, because Billie Kay, for me, is over as an entertaining character. She is organically getting herself over. She's been given this resume headshot thing, which is supposed to be a filler 30-second comedy gimmick. She's finding ways of being on TV each and every week and outshining everyone that's going on in those segments. What I'd say from an in-ring perspective, Bayley and Ruby Riott was a great match. It was short, but I want to see it again. I think this was very good. These two put together, if I believe, the first time in WWE, certainly would be up for seeing this again in the future. It was a much-needed win for Bayley. Billie Kay, once again, arguably causing controversy in the finish there for Bayley to pick up the victory. The one thing that I found a bit messy, but I mean, we can come and find detail in it, is the fact that then Billie Kay kind of, from wanting to help the Riott Squad, wanted to give her resume over to Bayley. I think when you look at the commentary, Corey Graves and Billie Kay were talking quite a lot during this segment. It just goes to show how really Billie Kay was arguably one of the stars of this segment, is the fact that, you know, we went from, you're no longer with the Riott Squad, and she says, well, allegedly, you know, it's not exactly official, even though she knows deep down she's been kicked out. She doesn't want to admit it to herself. And then she's been told about the idea of like, well, maybe you and Bayley would make a great tag team. So she's kind of gone, well, hang on, I've mucked up again here and I've accidentally caused the Riott Squad to lose. They're not going to want me around. Maybe I'll give that headshot to Bayley, because maybe that would be a great idea as a tag team. And to be fair, I don't say I want to see Bayley and Billie Kay as a tag team. I think Bayley should be going on to bigger things. I think arguably she should be in a big singles WrestleMania match. But if you wanted something to fill her for the next few weeks, I think that when you see Bayley, she's such an entertaining character as a heel as well. She's one of the best female entertaining characters that WWE have got. Her and Billie Kay could put some magic TV together. So in a way, it was slightly messy, this segment, but in another way, I think that we could get some golden television out of it, and there certainly was some great things to watch while we were watching it. So all in all, this is a nothing segment. It's something I shouldn't have been talking about for as long, but weirdly enough, I'm invested in everything that's currently going on with all of these characters.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. I definitely think the Billy Kay thing's entertaining. It's definitely much more entertaining than the Lana table spot this week after week we had before. So I'm definitely a fan of it. You make some interesting points. The match itself was decent. As I said, they picked the right winner. It was just a fun match, really, a fun moment. I like the way that Billy Kay is trying to get anybody she can to tag with her with a resume. It's quite funny seeing the wrestlers' different reactions and stuff. Good fun segment. We then obviously had this Bianca Belair sort of segment. Bianca Belair comes out to the ring. She said that winning the Rumble changed her whole life. She then said that she could challenge Asuka. She could challenge Sasha Banks. This went on for a bit. There was loads of crowd reaction to this. We then had a random appearance from Reginald, the sommelier from Carmella even. Sorry, Reginald, the seminar from Carmella came out. And then what it was is obviously Reginald told Bella she knows she can't beat Sasha or Carmella, so she should challenge Asuka. What were your thoughts of this part before we go into the rest of the promo?
I was really enjoying the start of this with Bianca Belair, because then I really thought, right, okay, well, with the men, we've been kind of dragged out. Edge has kind of gone on every show, and, you know, who's he going to challenge? We don't know. With Bianca Belair, it feels a bit more straightforward. She didn't turn up on Raw. She was here in this moment on SmackDown. You thought to yourself, right, okay, this is going to be the moment. And Reginald coming out was very random for me. I found that this was a bit messy, this segment, and obviously starting off with the Reginald and Carmella stuff here. I really think the idea of the direction is that we're going to have a break off, that Carmella is no longer going to be feuding with Sasha. Carmella is going to look to try and get herself into WrestleMania by beating Bianca Belair. But I do think this was a very strange way to go about it, because it almost felt as if like Reginald was like, well, you know, you won't beat Sasha Banks, and, you know, you can't beat Sasha. It was almost as if they were on Team Sasha, which they were, you know, heated rivals just this past Sunday. So for me, this felt, I don't know, it was a bit of a clash. It didn't quite connect for me, but I think I see where WWE's trying to go with it. There will be Bianca versus Carmella, possibly even at Elimination Chamber, but this was definitely a funny way to go about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think Reginald is quite entertaining. Bit of a random placement, as you said. So obviously Carmella comes out and she says that Reginald's a wise man. Carmella basically says that she beat Sasha in the first match. And Carmella basically said that she can beat Sasha, so she could beat sort of Bianca. This obviously leads to Sasha coming out. Sasha then comes out saying she's looking at who's going to challenge her. She basically does a promo on Bianca. It then leads with the kind of evil laugh and stuff, and there's a lot of tension. Next thing you know, we kind of get like Carmella there, and it just as a third part, almost third wheel. We then have Reginald telling Bella she got lucky. Reginald then basically tells Bella if she challenges anybody in the ring, she'd lose. And then obviously Bella Bella uses her hair as a weapon, and then get Reginald out the ring. A couple of points to this one. It was interesting. There's a lot going on though. You've got Sasha partly sort of arrogant against Bianca, which is almost like hinting like a heel turn a little bit. You've got Carmella there not attacking Sasha, which didn't make any sense. And the thing is, obviously, the only person that's the main focus in this segment is Reginald, which is just weird because it's not in the ring. The weird thing for me is obviously Reginald gets taken out of the ring here by Bianca, yet Carmella's not making any save. What were your thoughts on this, and have you got anything else to add?
Yeah, it was very strange. Let's tackle the negatives, then let's go to the positives, because there is one real big positive from this segment still. The negatives here, like you said, Reginald being involved in general, Carmella being involved in general was unnecessary. Sasha Banks was interesting because when she came out, like again, it seemed like it was 3-on-1. Is a heel turn going to happen? You suggested it a week ago. I still think a babyface versus babyface would be quite strong with those two at WrestleMania with Sasha and Bianca. But if they go down the heel turn, Sasha Banks is very capable of doing that heel roll. She's very good at it. So I wouldn't argue at the same time. But like you say, the idea that Reginald was attacked with being whipped with Bianca's hair and Carmella just sort of kind of stood there and did nothing was very bizarre. It just, again, it was a cluster. It was a mess.
Who's babyface
still said who should.
Sorry to interrupt you. It was a babyface move. Like she didn't. Like surely Carmella's a heel. She should have attacked the babyface. Sorry to interrupt you, Steve. Go on, Karen.
No, it's like it was almost as if you could say like, are they going to break away? Because it's almost like, well, I just let him fed to the walls, really. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to protect him. We can do my dirty work, but I won't do his, I guess. But at the same time, I kind of feel Bianca could have still made her call who she was going to challenge. There's no reason why she couldn't do that. So that kind of didn't make sense either. But one thing I would say that was great about this segment is that for the first time in the ring at the same time was Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. And I don't know, I just got that feeling when I saw that this is a WrestleMania match that I want to see. I do believe that these two will put on an amazing match. And I don't know, something just this felt big time, because a lot of people have been talking about as a dream match and a match people want to see. The fact for the first time we saw that this potentially can be and more likely will be a reality. I just kind of felt to myself that actually looking at it, that this felt good and it felt big. So despite the fact the segment was a mess, I am actually weirdly still very excited to see the idea and the prospect of Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair becoming a reality. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's going to be a dream match. For me, as I said, regarding that heel turn, I think the only thing that's stopping it is they're heel heavy. Obviously, you've got Bayley as a heel, you've got Carmella as a heel, Sasha as a heel as well. It's maybe one too many, unless you're going to put someone over onto SmackDown as a babyface. It means there's a lot of heels on there, which maybe stops it. But in terms of this match, it's interesting. I would love to see this lead to maybe like a fatal four-way at WrestleMania. If you put in Bayley as well, Bayley, Carmella, and then Bianca, Sasha, maybe that would sort of dilute the match itself from a singles match. But I think I just want to see all these wrestlers on the card in WrestleMania in some sort of form. Have you got anything else to add on that, or anything else you want to say?
They certainly deserve it. I mean, that's the thing with, unfortunately, when you have a one-on-one singles match, you do get to a point where you think to yourself, well, hang on, where's Bayley going to fit in? Maybe does Rhea Ripley come onto the show, and then you've got Bayley and Rhea, but then perhaps Rhea maybe more needed on Raw. I don't know. But I mean, perhaps we might get the Women's Battle Royal as well. I mean, of course, if someone like Bayley was to win that Women's Battle Royal, for example, yes, it's not a high-profile spot on the card, but you would turn around and say that Bayley would walk away with a WrestleMania victory. So there are ways and means around it. It will be interesting to see how the storylines will connect together as we go towards WrestleMania. Of course, there's still many weeks to go. But from week one, at this particular point, the excitement factor, knowing the idea that we've got potentially Sasha and Bianca definitely in that match together, that definitely screams excitement. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that break down and go down. And as we go into the road to WrestleMania, it should be exciting.
Definitely. We then obviously had this Otis and Chad Gable kind of segment. They're obviously going to be teaming tonight, facing Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. What are your thoughts this backstage segment of Chad Gable and Otis?
It's interesting because, I mean, we broke up Heavy Machinery, and I'm not quite sure why, because Otis is now on a team with Chad Gable. I'm very happy to see Chad Gable on TV, though. I would say that he's showing what a great talent he is, because we've seen him in great matches, but you can see he's got personality as well. And I'm not sure if everything in Chad Gable's intentions is good, because even though he's portraying himself as a babyface with Otis, he's kind of heelish as well. He's very tweenery. So it's going to be interesting to see how that will sort of play out into a storyline. But at the same time, I do feel to myself that it's a bit of a random throw together tag team.
Yeah, it is. I think the problem is they've just kind of they're desperate for tag teams. They only seem to have kind of the tag team champions plus the Street Profits. That's about it, which that just says it all really. But yeah, an unusual tag team. As I said, I agree with the points. I think they should never split Otis up from Tucker. I think that's a big mistake. But as you said, it's great to see Chad Gable on TV. I think he's a great talent. I think he should be a singles wrestler. He's far too good for this. But let's go into kind of the match then. So obviously we had the tag team champions against Chad Gable and Otis. This was a non-title match. It was okay. Interesting point. The Street Profits are doing commentary, but they weren't with the announcers. They were from somewhere else. And it ended up with Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode getting the windfall. What were your thoughts of the windfall in the match?
Quick noted point is that Chad Gable and Robert Roode are previous Raw Tag Team Champions, if I'm not mistaken. So they are a previous tag team as well against each other. There was no reference to that made on the show. I didn't like the new entrance music from Dolph and Roode. I must admit, I wasn't a fan of that. They've sort of merged both their entrance themes together. The match was fine. There was nothing wrong with the match. The problem is I felt like I needed to watch this match on mute. The Street Profits were just making noise throughout the whole thing, which just for me makes them unlikable. I don't find myself connected. Where we talk about someone like Bianca, where all the effort is in there to make yourself, get behind the superstar, wanting to get to WrestleMania, wanting to be the next big star. With the Street Profits, this is the opposite. I just hearing like, yeah, the whole way through the match and just noise going. I don't think I heard one move called. I didn't hear one challenge made or anything. It just, for me, was it just was sound. And unfortunately, it did ruin that segment entirely. I kind of Cole and Corey Graves, which I'm sure a lot of people don't say they want to hear the sound of Michael Cole very often in 2021. But certainly when you listen to this match, I think a lot of people will be grateful that Cole does the rest of the show.
Yeah, I thought it was needless having it on commentary. That would have been far better sort of there with the announcers obviously doing a run-in after. But I was happy that Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode retained. I really like Robert Roode. I think he's got a lot of potential. He really should be up the card. He's another one that's, thank God he's on TV with the belt. I think he can go far. It gives Dolph something to do. And clearly this leads into the rematch. Obviously Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode have only had the belt since January 8th. But for me, as you said, there's a major shortage of competition, and I think that's a real thing that WWE probably needs to look at soon. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I agree. They need to address it. I mean, one suggestion they gave earlier was Blake and Murphy making a return as a team. Of course, it would be a bit random right now, maybe, because I don't know how the stars were aligned to do it, but they need to look to adding one or two more teams in there. Perhaps Ray and Dominic perhaps should enter the tag team division also.
Yeah, it was. I agree with you. I think they need to do something. But moving forward, then we obviously had a flashback, week in history, 33 years ago last week. It was the main event special that drew 33 million viewers. It was Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. And they then had a promo of Hulk Hogan. For me, it's great to see Hulk, but this was totally needless. He did nothing. He wasn't there endorsing the stars on the roster. There was no real purpose to this. They're not going to build a match off this. I don't know whether it was just to try and sell the network. What were your thoughts on this kind of promo? Did it do anything for you?
Is this Legends Night? No, I mean, seriously, it's just, it was unnecessary. Like you said, it's great to plug the idea of the biggest match ever, like, people watching and stuff, 33 million viewers or whatever. I watched the match a couple of years ago for the first time. I'd never seen that match before 2018. So that was, the fact is it's fun for nostalgic, like you say, of plugging the network and stuff like that. But the whole thing doesn't connect together. It doesn't make any sense. Just for me, I don't need to see Hogan on my TV screen in 2021. I find it cringeworthy every time. Yes, it's disrespectful to arguably one of the greatest, biggest legends, if you want, of wrestling history. But I don't know. For me, Hogan doesn't connect in 2021, especially with a lot of the controversy for him that's gone outside the ring. I just felt it was unnecessary.
There's only kind of one good thing about this, I think, that the fact that Hogan did mention Edge and Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre in the promo, that's the only kind of thing that was saving it. And when we look at it, that it's just kind of a joke that you look at they're willing to dedicate this time when they've got to start building up the road to WrestleMania. This did kind of nothing for me. But have you got anything else you want to add before we move forward?
No, because it didn't really add anything. It doesn't, like you said, there's no enhancement to it being on the show.
Yeah, I agree. We then had a really weird backstage segment. We had Edge chatting with Nakamura, and they shook hands. Really random placement of Nakamura. He wasn't really on the show at all, but yeah, he's chatting with Edge here. What do you think the purpose was of this, and did you enjoy it?
I mean, I'm always okay, because Edge is one of, he's, 11-time world champion? I mean, he's one of the greatest, arguably, in history. You turn around and say that he's endorsing someone. I mean, of course, it makes more impact with someone like Damian Priest, who just come to Raw when we discussed that earlier in the week. But it's still good that he gives a plug over to Shinsuke, because Shinsuke, of course, has gone over to babyface. It just reminds you that, with everything with Shin, that he's not been forgotten. So, yeah, in a way, I don't mind it. I've got nothing against it. But like you say, he's arguably random placement. I think perhaps Cesaro would have been more beneficial in this role tonight.
I think the thing is, I have no problem with it. It's great to see Edge on camera, and it's great to get Nakamura on camera, but this surely should lead somewhere. If you're having Edge be attacked at the end of the night, and then Nakamura makes a save, it's worthwhile. You get what I mean? You're getting some sort of payoff to it, but it's just a small thing, really. Have you got anything else you want to add before we go to probably the match of the night?
No, let's move to the match of the night.
Yeah, we got the Intercontinental title, Big E defending against Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn. This was a really, really good match. It was loads of close falls. There were numerous times when I thought Big E was going to kind of lose. Big E gets the windfall after hitting the big ending on Crews. They got a lot of time here. And I really enjoyed this match. I thought this is exactly what SmackDown needs to be. It was really close. We never knew who was going to win. It made Big E look $1 million. There was loads of near falls. It further paints the picture that Sami Zayn's got a conspiracy and stuff like that, which is clever. And all the wrestlers all came out with credit. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you've hit a lot of the points on the head immediately there. So, I mean, I'll skip a few of them to not, repeat what you said there. But like you say, I mean, what we have now, we have an Intercontinental Championship division. That's something I've not felt for a long time. We might have the odd challenger here or there, but we're starting to build a division. We've got Big E, we've got Apollo, we've got Sami Zayn. Like you say, Cesaro could come into the mix. Daniel Bryan's not going to be in the championship picture. So we've got people that could be in and around that sort of area. We feel like we have actually a mid-card division, which is really exciting. I really love the spot of the T-bone suplex and German suplex being done at the same time. That was very creative. Like you say, Sami Zayn are finding ways of continuing this conspiracy theory, but we got the right way, the right outcome of this, because Sami wasn't involved in the actual pinfall either. Gives him the necessary thing of, I want my one-on-one rematch also. Apollo Crews sadly losing. The only thing I would say of slight negative if I wanted to nitpick, and as we're here and discussing it, let's nitpick, shall we? Apollo Crews a few weeks ago was in a segment with Roman Reigns backstage. Nothing's really come of that since. I'm wondering if that could be, a long-term built storyline that we just not really planted the seeds for, and we've not really gone any further with yet, or if it's something that's been dropped. I wondered your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think the thing is that it looks to be dropped. I think the thing is there's clearly hints of him turning heel and helping Roman and doing Roman's dirty work to a certain point. But yeah, I think it's one of them things. I think they've dropped it, but I may be wrong. There was no real hints here of when he lost of being frustrated. Really, it didn't really show that he was kind of angry at all, which I'm surprised.
You have to wait and see how it's going to play out.
Definitely. We then obviously got this promo, obviously from Edge. This is Edge coming out. Edge comes out in street clothes. There was a massive promo. And then they said that Edge obviously earned the chance to challenge at WrestleMania by winning the Royal Rumble. Edge came out with another fantastic promo. He then put over people like such as Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor, Roman Reigns. He said he should ask who he should challenge. He said he asked a guy called John that gave him a different answer. That was nice. I thought it was quite funny. We then get Roman Reigns come out. Roman Reigns is with Jey Uso and Paul Heyman. Reigns then obviously kind of very slow walk to the ring. Reigns said man to man, he gives Edge his word. Without Roman's blessing, Paul will not make a move on him. This led to some laughter. And basically, Edge queries why Roman couldn't come out alone. Reigns said that Edge is past it and don't be disrespectful to Roman and his family. Reigns told Edge to acknowledge Reigns as the main event of WrestleMania and champion of choice. Reigns wanted Edge to say Roman's name. Before Edge could say anything, Kevin Owens showed up and then did the stunner. The show then kind of goes off the air with Kevin Owens and Edge over Roman. What are your thoughts of this?
So, I mean, first off, we never really learned what John wanted, did we? I'd love to know what John said. But no, comedy segment aside, I didn't mind the end of the show here. I love the fact that Roman, for the first time, I mean, we've seen such an arrogant heel that's sort of like, I'm the guy that runs this show. But the fact with the Royal Rumble win from Edge, you can see actually deep down, this is the first time Roman feels vulnerable. And you can see that he's clearly affected by the idea. He wants to be the one selected, but also at the same time, he kind of feels like, well, maybe I've met my match as well. So it's fun that we see a different side to the Roman Reigns character, which is, a different side of it we haven't seen it since he's made his comeback and certainly on this heel run. As for the choice never being selected, it's kind of the same as what we saw earlier with Bianca and Sasha. I want to see it with one storyline, not both, certainly not on the same show. So I would say that creates a bit of a clash for my liking. I think with Kevin Owens coming in, I think as a lot of people probably feel this feud should be done now. Of course, Kevin Owens is a guy that won't stay down and won't give up. And I like that side to his character, but we need to find put that way in a different portion of the show. What I would say is that I believe Edge will, of course, eventually pick Roman Reigns. But what I do believe, which goes back to an earlier thing we discussed in this video, is that I do believe that Roman Reigns will actually defend his championship in the chamber. I don't see any other way you put Kevin Owens back in another championship match, because if you have them two one-on-one again, I don't think it's going to be with positive feedback. I don't think people are going to be invested. If you look at as well, Shinsuke Nakamura was shaking hands with Edge earlier in the evening. Remember, Shinsuke was actually screwed out of his championship opportunity as well from Roman Reigns. That could put him in the chamber. Jey Uso could be the backup for Roman Reigns. Hell, you could even throw Adam Pearce in that chamber because of the fact, if there's that many problems. Roman Reigns could have a great storyline angle with the Elimination Chamber this year if it's all booked together correctly. It's the only way I want to see Kevin Owens back in the spot. If not, I think KO needs to move to another spot of the card, or they need to just have a blow-off match on Smackdown next week, because really, this feud for me, it's now past its sell-by date. I don't know how you feel.
I agree. I think the thing is, how can we top it? The Royal Rumble was so superb, sublime. We can't really do it again. So disappointed that Kevin Owens did that. I think he did nothing for Roman. I get that Roman's vulnerable; he's distracted by Edge, but really hoping, as you said, it's not going to be another rematch. For me, I think this was okay. I much rather would have seen Roman kind of attack Edge. Like, I know Edge is the challenger, and you want to kind of protect Edge to a certain point, but for me, you want to get Edge fired up to the point of he has to kind of go to Christian to get that help. So I think that's the storyline down the line where you're going to need to get Christian and Jey Uso involved in like sort of the way the storyline's built up over the coming months as such. But it's okay. It was a fun way to end, but it's interesting. The last two Smackdowns, Roman Reigns has been attacked kind of at the end. What's your kind of thoughts of the booking of Roman Reigns and him sort of selling it? He's doing a lot more selling at the moment, isn't he?
He is. I mean, he's been dominant for so long. So
yeah,
it comes a point that you need to start, because otherwise that becomes to the point that no one's on his level. But at the same time, I do say that this week I would have preferred, like you said, I would have preferred a beat down. Maybe Roman tries to attack Edge and he's not getting the better off, so Jey Uso comes back. It becomes that double team kind of feeling. Yeah. Maybe Kevin Owens then could have made the save. It would have been maybe built to a tag team match the next week. That could have been all right. But the fact that it felt solo Kevin Owens and solo Roman Reigns, like you said, the match of the Rumble was fantastic. We shouldn't be complaining. They've had 3 tremendous championship matches. So I suppose it would be another great match if they did it again. It's just a case of you don't want to keep seeing things repeated, because then when it comes to another 6 months down the line and they need to have their SmackDown main event, I will sort of be sitting there thinking, I've seen this match 100 times before. I don't need to see it again. The way to make rematches feel more special is if they're not so frequent. And I think that's how you make it feel much better. We've had 3 great matches with these two. We need to move on and go to a different layer of the storyline. I do like your point, by the way, and I do agree with you that I think that where Edge and Roman will eventually clash and face each other, Jey Uso will be involved in the story. And I think that's where we bring Christian back onto his part-time schedule, onto TV. He'll be on SmackDown. There are even rumours going around this week that Christian was meant to be his final match in an before he had to retire his final match. He was due an Intercontinental Championship match against the champion at the time, who was Big E. Funny how things turn around when Christian returns and Big E is your current IC champion. There has been a rumoured match that could happen at WrestleMania. So it's interesting how it's all going to play together. I'm certainly in for the ride. Like you said there, I would have liked to have seen something that would have driven Edge passionately to be wanting to come back to SmackDown and pick Roman Reigns. But I guess we have to be patient. Perhaps Edge doesn't need to pick for a couple of weeks.
No, maybe not. I guess you can get him on Raw and get him on NXT again next week. But no, definitely. So let's go to kind of a score then. Final thoughts on the score. For me, I'm going to give this show 7 out of 10. There was a lot of fun stuff on the show. I think Edge and Bianca Belair looked $1 million. I really like the work between Cesaro and Daniel Bryan, as you said. There was a lot of positive. And I think it's just so much of an easy show to watch compared to Raw. What's your final thoughts on the score, Steve?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's an easy show to watch. It's much improved compared to last week. I mean, of course, last week I didn't really give my most glowing SmackDown scoreline when it got to its review. But I still don't think we're back to the standard that SmackDown has been setting over the winter season. But what I would say is that this is getting back more on track. I would turn around and give this show a 6.5. I'm going to go slightly lower just because I think the in-ring work was fantastic, but I do think a lot of the mic work was a bit off on this show, and I do think the mic work usually is a lot more of a higher standard. So for me, if the mic work had been on point, I think we could have been looking at a 7.5, even an 8. But for the mic work says it wasn't really on par, I will go with a 6.5.
Definitely. So let's go into our 2 news stories to end the show this evening. So what we've got sort of Rhea Ripley then. What we're going to ask of you, Steve, is where do you think she'll end up and why?
It's an interesting question because, I mean, you could argue she's needed on Raw more. I think there's a gap for a top star on Raw. But Raw has a more actual solid division, really. When you look at it, you've got Asuka, Charlotte Flair, who now thankfully look to be back to singles competition. We've got Alexa Bliss. We've got Peyton Royce, Lacey Evans. Nikki Cross, the list goes on. We do have a division there. They're just not utilised. I mean, even Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, how can I not mention them? There are enough people that are willing challengers, but they're just not being booked correctly. So in one way, I would turn and say there is enough WrestleMania matches you can make with that properly. I actually wonder, you said there, Bayley needs an opponent for WrestleMania. I've always wanted to see Rhea Ripley versus Bayley. And if Sasha Banks was to turn heel and you needed a babyface to go on that roster, Rhea Ripley would be a standout choice for that. So there's a case for either side, but I've always said Raw, but I'm starting to lean to SmackDown and thinking where I think she will end up.
Sorry, I think you need her on Raw more. I understand all your points. Thank you for making them. The reason why you need her on Raw is you have got Alexa, but she's not really an in-ring competitor. She's more of a spectacle, if that makes sense. So you can't have her there every single week. I think you need her on Raw as well because really you have got Asuka, you have got Charlotte, you have got Lacey and Peyton, but they've got that women's tag team division that seems to be solely set up on Raw as well. Most of them wrestlers get involved in that division. So for me, I think Rhea... the problem is, look, let's go into WrestleMania now, Steve. So at WrestleMania, you're going to have Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair. Rhea doesn't fit in that scenario for me. So I think you're going to have her potentially either against Charlotte Flair, so you can avenge last year, or you have her against Asuka, really. It's one of them things. Would you like to see her come back or come onto the main roster, maybe as a heel now? Because I think an Asuka as a face, Rhea as a heel could work maybe. But what's your thoughts?
For me, I really want Rhea as a top babyface. I think she has the market an ability to be a top star in the company. She should be booked as one. Ironically, there was a report that came out this week that she is now part of the main roster. She's gone from NXT.
Yeah.
The problem is that they haven't found plans to fit her on Raw and SmackDown, which is for me extremely worrying because Rhea Ripley is, I mean, she's money. There's no argument about it. She has got the it factor. I agree. The thing is, for me, I don't mind where she ends up because if she's on Raw, she will improve that aren't getting TV time anyway, so they're just not being pushed as a top star. Rhea can elevate that Raw Women's division, but I'd want to see her as a babyface. I'd rather Asuka go heel if one of them had to go heel. I like the idea of revenge of Charlotte Flair. I like the idea of a triple threat as well. I just also, like I say, if you go to SmackDown, there is a spot there for that babyface because, like you say, the other people are kind of very low of the card. Natalya, Tamina, they don't really get that TV time. We've got Naomi that's back on Raw as well this week. Let's not forget. Also, she's in her 3-month push before she goes missing after WrestleMania once again. So, you know, the possibilities are endless. For me, I just want Rhea Ripley on my TV set. I just want to see her push as a top star that I know that she can be.
100%. It would be great if she gets that rub from NXT. We know she deserves. Obviously, they have a history of pushing these people from NXT, and within 2 or 3 months, they're opening acts and they're jobbers and stuff. And I think it'd be a real shame after a great work last year and at WrestleMania previously for her not to follow up. But hope they get a place for her. But my money's on Raw at the moment. If I was betting, that's what I'm going to put it on. What's your final prediction? Where's she going to end up, Steve?
I don't know. See, if you'd have asked me before the Rumble, I was sure it was Raw. Even after the Rumble, I was sure it was Monday Night Raw. The fact that she didn't show up Raw the next night made me think she was going to be on SmackDown this week. But it's hard to say. It's hard to put my money one way or another. But if you're going to push me, I'm going to say SmackDown just to be the other side because I'm on the SmackDown show every week, so I'd like to review her.
No, definitely. Let's go to our final news story then before we close the show this evening. Obviously, there's rumours this week from the reliable WrestleVotes that there is serious talk about Finn Balor defending his NXT World title in one of the nights of the 2 nights WrestleMania. What's your thoughts of this? And are you excited, or do you think it should be on the takeover?
Well, it depends. We've got WrestleMania as a 2-night event again this year. So if we have 3 wrestling shows, big shows, 3 nights in a row, it gets a bit heavy. You've got SmackDown as well on the Friday. You've got Raw on the Monday. So there's not really a place for takeover. So in a way, I'm kind of cool with it. I mean, we had the NXT Women's Championship at WrestleMania last year. It's a shame Adam Cole didn't give the opportunity to actually defend his championship last year at WrestleMania. But no, looking at this year, I mean, it's Finn Balor. If it's Karrion Kross, I mean, damn, that's a money match for NXT. It gives more exposure to NXT as well. They're being destroyed in the ratings each and every week. Not that I really care about the ratings, but if WWE wants, who cares about it, wants to bring those ratings up, put your championship match on WrestleMania. People will be watching it more than any other time of the year. If you're invested in it, hell, they'll go and watch that on a weekly basis.
Yeah, they will. I think it's going to be fun. It'll be fun to see where they go with this. I think it'll be interesting to see if they have a title match. Say at the takeover, they have a title, and then the winner of that then has a match the next night or the night after. They could do that potentially. But in terms of an opponent for Finn Balor, off air, I've said this to quite a few people. I think I'd love to see Karrion Kross, Finn Balor, Demon versus Karrion Kross. I think for me, that could be one for the ages. That feels WrestleMania for me with the entrances and stuff you can do. The only trouble with that is how you get the belt off it, because I think Karrion Kross is going up to the main roster. So that's pretty clear. So he may go into this match. And if he goes out on a loss, then I guess they forget about it the next night. Any thoughts on that? Who do you see Finn's facing, if anybody?
I think Kross is the guy. I can't see it being anybody else, really. I mean, Pete Dunne is going to be a great challenger at TakeOver. I'm looking forward to that show. I think them two are going to have a fantastic main event, but I don't see Pete Dunne at this point as being the guy with the championship. He did a great job with the UK brand. So for me, Balor keeps the belt. And I mean, Kross is the guy that's he didn't lose the belt, so he's the only guy I can see challenging for it.
Definitely. So let's go to the end of this kind of show now. So obviously on your channel, Steve, you've got a load of good content coming out. Tell everybody what they expect to see this week, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, if you're watching this today on Sunday, then the Q&A will be coming out the same day from me, Ask SCW, which will be episode 71, answering your questions in the wrestling community. As well as that, also, it's a great time to plug it, to keep it out. SCW interviews are going to be coming back starting this upcoming week. And, of course, the first one that I'm going to have on there is yourself, George. So you're going to be coming on my channel. So if you're a fan of Jonesy Chats Wrestling, then maybe you should also head over and watch our collaboration that we'll be doing on my channel as well. And that should be dropping hopefully on Tuesday or Wednesday. But at this moment, I'm thinking more than likely it's probably going to be Tuesday.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. As I said, highly give everyone recommend Steve's channel. Give him a subscribe. The content's great. Does a lot of fantasy booking and stuff like that. And it's always good to sort of hear his opinion. On the road to 50 subs now. Really appreciate all the recent subs and all the recent comments and likes. Please continue it. We really want to get the channel over. Thank you if you made it this far to the end of the video. This has been Jonesy Chats Wrestling. I've been joined by Steve from SCW. And enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you for watching.